voting age. Let's go there firstly, because you're all, how old are you?
I'm 16.
17.
17.
17.
Should we lower the voting age to 16? Discuss.
Should I go first? Right.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it should be lowered because I think, I mean, me at 16, I didn't really know, like in year 11, I didn't know much about politics. I wasn't really interested in it. So I don't think kids know like who to vote for, and I think they're easily swayed, like immature, so they'll see something and they'll like just like vote for it straight away. But
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably quite agree with that. I think at 16, you're probably quite impulsive, and just how big social media is these days, I think it's very easy for young people to get wound up on one side of the argument and then not even consider the other.
So that year, you're 17 now,
Mhm.
so that year is a big year, a lot of learning, a lot of maturity, so you're saying, some people might go, what's the difference between 15, 16, 17, 18? You're saying it's a huge difference.
Well, I'd say I'm probably still not ready to vote now.
Oh right, that's interesting, you're not ready to vote now, okay. Anybody else got an opinion on this?
But I agree with Carly and Luca's points, but some of us do study politics at GC because I studied citizenship, so I have like a little bit of knowledge on the political process and like what the political parties stand for, but we can still be quite impulsive and don't quite understand everything.
Could not 27-year-olds, 37-year-olds, 47-year-olds, can they not be impulsive?
I imagine probably so, yeah.
Okay.
Personally, I think that 16-year-olds should be given the vote because I think it would make them more engaged in politics, because right now they have this mindset that, oh, it's not going to affect me until later, so I shouldn't care about it now anyway. But I think if they did have the opportunity to vote, then they would be a lot more engaged.
Good, good. Again, there's no right or wrong in this discussion. You're not going to get graded at the end. I was about, I mean, I'm classified at O-level physics. I clearly still hurts. Sometimes when Sky, BBC, etc. out on the high streets and they interview people, they go, they're all the same. Politicians are all the same. Do you think politicians are all the same? Or do you think people are different? You can see there's difference in some of the politicians you see on television.
I think they're all the same. I think I mean, I don't really know, but I'd say they're not the most trustworthy people out there. I feel like they all say these big things and make big promises, but sometimes the promises don't always like follow through. But I mean, maybe they are different.
Do you think that's just life at the moment? Do you think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people would have been saying they're all the same? Do you think there's something about life at the moment that people are a little bit, even whether you're 17 or 57, people are a little bit cynical? That's a hard question, by the way.
I don't know. I'd say they're all the same, as in they want the same end. Obviously, they want to get to power. And then I think it's the way they get to power that differentiates them in what they promise. So, obviously, they'd promise things that they think the majority is going to vote for them and put them in power. But then when they get in power, I feel like they all sort of they're all getting in power for the same reason, which is to probably bolster their own party, their supporters, and the people who donate to them.
Yeah, I agree with Luca. I think that politicians are the same in the way that most of them lie to achieve, political power. However, there are differences once they actually, get into power and stuff. I also think that, differences in personality and how much a politician can relate to the public and stuff differentiate them. Because, for example, Rishi Sunak, richer than the king, told a homeless guy to get a job. Don't think he really understands the people that well. It's a bit out of touch.
So, do you think Rishi Sunak's out of touch?
Yes.
Why? What's your evidence? Apart from you've given a good example.
Yeah, he's just, went without Sky TV, and that was a major sacrifice for him when some people are sacrificing food.
So you think he's having a good general election or a bad general election so far?
Pretty bad for him. All the polls are in Labour's favour.
Do you think the media have got it in for him though? Sometimes you get an MP or a Prime Minister, and once, I say media because I am part of the media, you think, oh, he's like we call a lame duck, we're just going to go for him. He can't do anything right. Do you think it's a bit unfair? Do you not feel sorry for him?
I don't really feel that sorry for him, but I do think he is getting a bit targeted. However, I do think that it's for a reason.
Okay, that's good. Anybody else feel sorry for Rishi Sunak? What do you think?
I think obviously he's an easy target at the moment for all the media outlets, and I think once you get a story that goes almost viral on one media outlet, everyone else is looking for the same sort of spark. They're obviously going to go for someone who promoted that spark in the other media outlet, but I wouldn't say that he's done nothing good or he's done every single thing incorrect, but I think they like to target the things he's done wrong because they're the things that obviously get the most reaction out of people.
In the interest of balance, we mentioned Rishi Sunak. What do you think of Sir Keir Starmer?
Don't really like him either, honestly.
Why not?
I think that he's just trying to appeal to as many people as he can without really having any solid, own beliefs.
Okay, anybody else?
I mean, I don't feel like he's had a chance to prove himself because obviously he's not, we're a Conservative at the moment, aren't we? So we haven't, Labour hasn't been in power at the moment.
You've got to give him a chance. It looks like he'll probably be Prime Minister
Yeah.
on July the 4th, 5th. How long, if he becomes Prime Minister, how long should people, I know who, technically every 5 years for elections, but do you think he'll get long, or do you think people want to see changes straight away?
I think it depends how quickly he acts and because he's making all these promises. I think he needs to act on it if he does get into power pretty quickly for people to like him and support him.
Okay. People say, some people will say they're going to vote Labour, just want to try for a change. Is that good enough reason for a change? It's not like a colour you wear in spring. What do you think? Just voting for a change, is that good enough? Or do you think we can understand why people want to vote for a change?
I kind of understand it because under Conservatives it's kind of just gone into decline. So I think with new government we might see a bit of improvement. It probably won't be instant, but I think if over the 5 years Labour should bring up to some new level of decency.
What do you think are the issues, if that's a good answer, what do you think the issues in Harlow? For example, health services. If I said to you health services and people aren't happy, what do you think they mean by that? What do you think the services are that they're not happy with?
Like the NHS waiting lists and all waiting for ambulances and stuff like that.
Are you aware of that people feel that these terrible waiting, you can go, picture outside Princess Alexandra Hospital of ambulances waiting out the car park into the road.
Yeah.
What do you think a government can do about that, if anything?
Put more money into the NHS.
Yeah. Is it important?
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
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 Why'd you say very?
It's just so many people rely on the NHS and they have such a massive backlog of people waiting to get proper healthcare. And the longer the wait list gets, the more people's conditions get worse.
Which ultimately puts more strain on the NHS because if you can catch it early, it's very easy to treat. But if you wait for it to just wear them down over years, then it's going to be a lot harder to treat, and ultimately it will cost more money and affect more and more people.
What about the idea that you may one day have to privatise? You go to America and it's private. The amount of people with, had no insurance, and there's some horrendous figures about how much amount of bankruptcies in America are on the basis of getting medical treatment. I don't have the figure to hand, but I will have tomorrow night. Could you see it? What's the pros and cons of just privatising it? You pay for things, don't you? So why not just pay for medical treatment?
I feel like the British population is just so used to the NHS being free, and obviously now it's a worry getting healthcare because of the waiting times, but I feel like it's less of a worry because they don't have to pay for it. So I feel like not many people are used to the stress of maybe getting an illness or something feeling wrong and then having to think, can I even afford this and what's going to happen to me? I feel like it being free is it gives people an assurance that there is a chance they'll get through it.
Yeah, because I think quite a lot of private practices, they charge hundreds of pounds for just a consultation, but that's not available to a majority of the population because not everyone's got hundreds of pounds just to spend on a whim. So the NHS is kind of there to serve everyone, not just a few, which happens in private practice.
Okay.
As someone living in the UK, I'm very proud of the NHS because you always hear like the horror stories from America where people are scared to get an ambulance because then it'll put them in debt. And I just think that's really out of order.
Okay. Next subject. Why don't you pick a next subject? Any subject you'd like to pick up? It might be on your list or.
National service.
Oh
maybe?
yeah,
Ah,
that's
the
what national service.
18-year-olds, yeah.
Fantastic idea. National service for 18-year-olds should be compulsory. It's a great idea. What's not to like?
Oh, I mean, personally, I do think it's a good idea for 18-year-olds. Maybe not a year, but definitely some amount of time. I think it's been a long-standing thing in South Korea, national service in the army for 18-year-olds, and I think it definitely has an effect on people's like nationality, the way they feel about their country. I feel like a lot of people would be more proud of their country if they've had like a year or however long serving it, and they really feel proud about it, I think. And then obviously, if not in the army, volunteering always helps.
Do you do any volunteering or do you do?
Not at the moment, no.
No. But you do something. Would you do something like national service?
Yeah, if it was compulsory,
Yeah.
I'd do it. Yeah.
I agree with Luca. I think it is a good idea. I mean, in like the forces, they're quite disciplined, and I feel like some children or 18-year-olds in the UK need some of that discipline, or maybe learn some like good ways in the army. So I think that's obviously the volunteering as well. Like it's more like people more likely do it if they have the choice between going into the forces or just volunteering. But
So do you do any volunteering?
I don't at the moment, but I feel like it's something good to get into. It's a good experience. It's nice to say like you do volunteer, so I'd do it.
I think national service is quite good because builds discipline, and if the volunteering will take pressure off of certain services. I think one of the things, you volunteer with a hospital, so that will help ease the pressure off like the nurses and doctors, because you kind of help out some of the menial jobs like the feeding and like just swapping beds over.
Almost like an expansion of work experience.
Yeah.
You do work experience in year 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so almost an expansion of that. So.
Oh, can I just like quickly add that I read that Rishi Sunak said that it will no longer be, he kind of backtracked on it, instead it'll be 25 like days spread over weekends in the army, I think. But personally, I wouldn't mind doing national service. I have friends in the army. I was actually like looking into joining anyway, so personally I wouldn't mind. However, I would say it's definitely not for everyone.
Right.
I wouldn't say you should force every single person to join, because there's just so many people that either aren't fit for it, that either physically or mentally not fit for it. You shouldn't force people to do it. However, I would. I think, yeah.
Excellent. Good answers. Where we go to next? Crime. Have you got crime on your list? If not, I can throw a question out.
No crime.
Crime. Are there enough police on the streets? Would you like to see more police on the streets? Would you be prepared to invest in that? More tax, etc. What do you think? What's the state how do you see it as 17-year-olds today? How do you see crime in Harlem and beyond?
Well,
Hard question,
personally,
but crack on.
I mean, I do see a lot of police, but I feel like they're stationed in like certain places. So then, like for example, like in Harlow, like I see a lot of police around like the Stowe area, but then like the crime just like moves on to like another area. So then like where the police aren't stationed. So I feel like if there were more spread out around like the town or like the whole Harlow as
People of a certain age keep going on about the Bobby on the beat, but that might have been in black and white television in 1964. But do you feel there should be some more visibility all across the town? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think more police could help, but I think nowadays crime isn't really a problem of police, because I feel like everyone recognises that the police are active and they are that I think crime is more a problem of people's circumstance. I feel like a lot of people commit crimes or carry out crimes against other people because they feel there's no other way they could possibly survive or get through. Obviously that's not all of them, some of them are purely just personal reasons. But I feel like an increase of police would help a bit, but I feel like there's an underlying issue that needs to be tackled as well.
Would you walk around in Harlow at night?
No,
not
I wouldn't,
personally.
no.
No?
I
Why
would.
not? Why? So why not?
It's not that I don't feel safe, but I feel like anyway, even in like London or I don't think I wouldn't walk around at night on my own. Just it's not like it's a bit scary.
Right. Is that a fear of crime? You know, if you walked.
Maybe not. I don't really know.
I mean, I wrote a piece the other day about crime in 1980. I went back to the papers, etc. And I said that I used to, you know, when I was in sixth year, used to walk from Great Braes, where I used to live, to the Playhouse to see something, or to the Hare pub to discuss politics over lemonade with my colleagues, and walk back. And I did, you know, and I didn't go, oh my God, I'm in fear. But then I looked at the Harlow papers in 1980, and you know, this crime, that crime. It was crime central. So I'm saying, is it a fear of crime, or you think, well, I don't want to play the percentages game? You'd walk around, did you say?
Yeah. I mean, maybe if I was like alone, I wouldn't wander around too long. But if I was with a friend or something, I don't really mind walking around in the dark at night. I mean, I just feel safe personally because I know the area.
I think that's another reason why I wouldn't, because I know the area and I know what's happened in the past
Yeah.
around. So I'm like, I don't want to put myself in that situation. So just don't walk around in the dark by yourself.
Okay.
And I guess I don't really see myself as someone who would get into that situation, so that plays a factor, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's an issue. Obviously, back then, many people just walked around at night, or they felt no fear. Because I feel back then, a lot of towns and cities, it felt more like a community. You were in, you sort of trusted people. But nowadays, I feel like there's a lot less of that within Harlow and even throughout the country. I feel like there's a lot more separatism in people. They feel a lot more shut out from the rest of their community, and so they fear it a lot more.
I guess one of the things is that the elderly are the least likely, statistically, the elderly are least likely to be victims of crime, but they're the ones who have the highest when the fear of crime. It's perception, isn't it? Or look at this, etc. But there we are. Let's have another. What's another subject on your sheets that you'd like to?
Oh, Brexit.
Ah, now that's interesting because a lot of people feel that it's not being discussed by all the big candidates. 27,000, and we'll come to that in a second. 27,000 people when it came to the referendum. 68% of people in Harlow who voted Leave. 27,000 people, I think, is my stat. So why did you bring up Brexit, and what's your opinion?
It's just, both parties aren't really talking about it. It says on the sheet that it's because last election was a very Brexit-focused election, so they don't really want to bring it up because Labour are so far ahead that if they bring it up, they think they might lose voters or lose support. The Conservatives are obviously not bringing it up because they did Brexit and it kind of failed.
You think it's failed?
Yeah, the UK has lost 4% of its economy.
So you think it's just sort of Keir Starmer's way ahead in the polls, or Labour, let's just leave it, you know, in that way. Any other opinions on Brexit?
I'd say you never really hear about the benefits of it. I don't anyway, from what I read or what I hear. All you really hear about is what trouble it's done. So I feel like that the perception in the population is that Brexit just equals something bad that happened in the past. So no one really wants to. It's a bit of a taboo at the moment, I'd say.
Can you understand why 27,000 people voted to leave the European Union? Is it something that you understand, or I can fire a line at you. In the day after the referendum, Sky News came to Harlow. They'd been to Hackney, 68% Remain. Harlow, 68% Leave, and they went down in Old Harlow in the High Street. There's a cafe there, and it's interviewing different people. And I've still got this piece on film. And they said, the one lady, why did you vote? She said, how did you vote? She said, I voted Leave. Why did you vote? She said, I don't want to be amongst all the other people. I just want to be amongst us. What do you think she meant?
I think she doesn't like immigrants.
Probably right. That's, do you think that's what she meant? I don't want to be amongst all the other people.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that was the main reason
Yeah.
why everyone, because I feel like that was one of the biggest like things to like try and get people to leave Brexit.
Because they don't like foreign folk.
Well, maybe, but
Yeah.
Could be.
It might have been more a miscommunication of what Brexit really was. I feel like maybe the people like you talked about in the cafe or in that video, they interpreted Brexit as like separating Britain back to itself as a like isolationism, whereas obviously from what's happened, that's not really what it's brought about. So I feel like maybe it was just a misunderstanding.
Good word, isolationism.
I feel like the Brexiteers like Farage and Johnson were kind of like, this is what's going to be really good. We're going to lower immigration, like boost the economy. But then they kind of rushed it to try and get it through. They didn't kind of think, they didn't kind of look at what might go wrong with it. So they went, oh, okay, this is really good, this is really good. Put it out, everyone went, oh, this looks really good, but didn't think, oh, maybe this might backfire, we're going to lose all our economy, immigration's going to go up. We haven't got all the infrastructure in place to kind of support us when we do leave the EU.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure there was also a select committee where they like asked the Conservatives how they did the calculations for the benefits of Brexit, and they said they just didn't do anything.
Excellent. My head's thinking about the next subjects to move on to after that. Education. Right, here we go. Education. So in 1981, Michael Casey leaves Harlow, goes to university up in Stirling to study history and politics. And I get a full grant, 4 years, full grant. I get travelling expenses to come back, etc., etc. Should we go back to that? Or tuition fees at least? What can we do? Do you think they should do something about tuition fees, reduce them? What do you think? You know, you all probably want to go to, do you want to go to university and beyond?
Not
Yeah.
me personally.
No.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a degree apprenticeship, hopefully.
Degree apprenticeships. Why a degree apprenticeship?
I think in the field I'm going into, they value work experience over a degree. So I think that's one reason. And then also I get paid at the same time rather than having to pay for it. So it's a mix of getting that work experience for the job, but then also it will also give me a degree anyway. So if I do want to move into a different company or a different sector, I'll still have a degree.
And what, may I ask what type of area you're thinking of going into?
Something computer science, more ICT.
That's interesting. University?
yeah, I want to go to university, but obviously there is the worry of like everyone talks about getting in debt and how expensive it is, but I feel like it's a good experience, and obviously you get the degree out of it at the end, so I feel like I do still really want to do it.
So,
I feel like university fees should come down a little bit because it kind of dissuades people from thinking about doing a degree because of the cost. And like, there are grants you can get. Like, I know the NHS, they'll pay me £5,000 per year that I do my course for me just to use and whatever I want. For some courses, you get charged lots of money. You don't get any support, and also the loans you get are kind of done on how much your family earn, but your family still got to make up the shortfall, so eventually it doesn't really even out as much because the way it's done is 10 years behind what we are at the moment. Doesn't keep our minimum wage.
Personally, I'm not going to go to university because the job I want doesn't require it. However, I do think that they should at least lower, if not abolish, tuition fees like in Scotland, because they have it and it's working out good for them. I just think it would encourage more people to go to university and get a better education.
may I ask what you hope to do when you leave school?
I want to join the fire service.
Great. Excellent. Good stuff. Okay, education. Where do you want to go to next? What subject do you want to go to next? If you were, for example, tomorrow night, I'm hosting the question time over at Passmore's Academy for all the candidates. If you had a question, you know, well, so there'll be in case you don't know their names, in the interest of balance, because we have to do that, we have to always have balance and say these order candidates. So the Conservative candidate is Hannah Ellis, Labour's Chris Vince, Lib Dem is Riyad Manan, Green is Yasmin Gregory, the Reform Party's Malcolm Featherstone, and there's a UKIP candidate called Lois Perry, and those are the candidates on the ballot paper. So they're on the ballot paper right now. So if you had a question, if you suddenly were there tomorrow night, didn't have anything else to do, what would your question possibly be? Throw it out to them. Have a think. I can edit this film, so don't worry. It won't be 2 minutes of dead air, as we say. Or I can cut to the chase and go to another subject in that you haven't actually said green issues or the environment. Is it something, there's an assumption that, young people have sleepless nights over the environment. You're actually going, oh, it should be a bit warmer. But, wasn't yesterday quite nice, But green issues, is it something you're concerned about?
I'm quite worried about the state of the environment, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just the longer you don't do anything about it, the worse it's gonna get, and then it's gonna be our problem because we're one of the youngest generations, and we'll need to fix it. And when it's our turn to fix it, we won't be able to fix it because the other generations have not done anything. It'll be too late.
I think it was 2022. Was it 2022? With that, there was a particular in July, and I have a picture of my Apple Watch of the temperature, from my garden, 39 degrees.
41.
Yeah, and I could smell. So if you know where I am, you know where St Mary Magdalene Church in Potter Street and the White Horse, right? And at last, I could smell the trees burning. And we thought there was a fire off the M11. But we thought, no, those are the trees burning. Should I be what? Is that the type of thing you think you shouldn't be going, oh, it's a bit warm, you should be worried?
I wouldn't say you should be sleepless nights worried over it. I just think
Because I couldn't sleep.
I just think you should be aware and you try to be more conscious about it.
I do think change needs to be made or started to make at least, because like Katrina said, our generation's the one that's going to have to suffer. So I feel like there needs to be rules, or not necessarily rules, but things to be put in place to help the environment or global warming.
Because you could be a 62-year-old editor of the newspaper coming in many years' time and it'll be 39 degrees every day. You say, why didn't we do something in 2024? That type of thing.
I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to ask what we sort of could do you think? Because I think at the moment, there's not much us as young people who are the people who seemingly care about it the most we can really do to move it. Obviously, there's so much pollution in private jets of millionaires and fossil fuels, but I feel like us as young people, there's not really much we can actually do to change that at the moment. So
I think it's the big corporations, like all the oil giants. I think they should put more effort into greener forms of energy because, you know, the oil is quite, extracting oil is quite bad for the environment.
Go back to education for a second. Sometimes I'm just thinking about my question tomorrow night. And 50,000 vacancies for teachers around this country. You know, I'm sure you may have subjects yourselves in which there's a vacancy for a teacher, etc. What can they do about that? Why do you think there is? I mean, I could ask you, why do you think there is 50,000 vacancies? It doesn't seem so long ago that there were 10 people queuing up to get a job for a teaching job, and now around the country, this is around the country. Why do you think that is?
I think teaching is a hard job.
It's your fault, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a hard job because obviously it's not something they can just leave at work. They take it home, they mark books, they plan lessons, they have to deal with children that might misbehave or something, and then obviously they don't get paid a lot for what they do. So I don't think many people are why would I put myself through all of that marking and all the hard work that they do? So why would I do all that and not get paid as much as I should? So I don't think it's as popular job as it was in the day.
Yeah, I think it kind of lost its appeal. obviously they don't get paid a lot, they have to do lots and lots of work, and then they come to school, there's students that don't really care, don't really like the teachers, think they could be doing something better. And also I think some people's parents, they kind of have a negative outlook towards teachers, and that kind of goes down to their children. And there's a distrust of teachers, and then so they strike for better pay, then people go, why are you striking? You're doing me damage to suit yourself. So it's kind of a catch-22 for teachers. Go on with the conditions they have, which are unfavourable, or they try and get better conditions, and no one likes them anyway.
Yeah, I think you said it was our fault, and I think it is the children's fault for the most part. I feel like the children, well, not obviously all of them, but I feel like it's increasingly becoming a thing that children don't appreciate their teachers, or maybe even school in general. I think there's a lot to be said for like the absences of school increasing, people not coming in. I think that's sometimes down to parents, sometimes down to children not really understanding how important school and learning is these days. I feel like with the advent of social media again, it's just becoming increasingly more appealing to children to just ignore school and believe that they'll just get by in life.
Yeah.
Can I go back to voting again? Just a couple of more subjects left, and that would be us. Have you got a lesson? When's your next lesson?
I've got one now. But
Oh, this is it. This is it, isn't it? This is your lesson. Don't test me. In some countries, voting is compulsory. Australia is one, there's many others. And I think compulsory means you have to attend.
Yeah.
I think you have to attend and go into the polling station and almost like a register. Do you think voting should be compulsory? Arguments for and against.
I mean, one argument for would be that only 2/3 of the electorate actually show up to vote on general elections, and even less on like local council elections.
It's like 29% here back in May, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would show a greater. It would be more proportionate to what people actually think. However, I don't think it's right to just straight up force people to vote, because some people, well, they just choose not to vote because of their own beliefs and stuff.
yeah, and just on that, saying it's more proportionate to what people actually think, there's always the risk that when you make everyone vote, people are just going to vote, well, not randomly, but people who don't take an interest and wouldn't vote usually, they'd vote without any reason behind it, and they'd vote for maybe who their friend's voting for, or just pick the top one on the list, so just to get it over with. So I think there's a risk there that then voting becomes less about what the passionate few who actually care about politics, they vote into power, and more about just the masses, just not guessing, but
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's more like if it becomes compulsory, people are just gonna pick at random, because if people that don't vote normally are people that don't know about it, or they don't care about it. So if they're made to vote, I feel like the results aren't going to be like the results.
I think in Australia you attend, but you can just cross none of the above or whatever.
Oh,
okay,
Yeah, that
that's-
type of thing.
that
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
you
be
can
good.
see them when they're interviewing people, the long queues in Australian general election. People go, don't bother me, mate. I'll just turn up to vote,
yeah.
to say I'm here and I'm going to go back to my work, that type of thing.
But then it's
Mm.
like, well, if you can say none of the above, then what's the point of making it compulsory then? That's the question.
Yeah, it's just it's going through the motions, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally, are you positive about the future? Here we are, and nice morning in June. Are we in June? We're in June 2024. It's a nice morning here in St Mark's. Sports going on outside, etc. You're here in a fantastic session with you. Really impressed. Are you positive about the future, your future lives as you look forward?
I am. I'm quite excited for the future. I feel like next year we've got a lot of things planned, like in year 13, and lots of things to be excited for. And then obviously I'm going hopefully university after. So I feel like I've got a lot of things to be excited for in the future from that.
Well, I'm of the opinion in life you have to sort of be positive, otherwise there's no point to it. Like anything can happen outside of your control any day in life, so you just have to sort of look at it as if anything can happen, I just need to make the most of what I've got now. So I think I am positive about the future, whatever it holds, but I think it's more, being positive about the future is more so about your own beliefs and your own opinion than what actually is happening.
I'm looking forward to the future because I can start training to do the job that I want to do and just better myself. School's getting a bit boring.
You've got another year though.
Yeah.
What's your plans in the summer? Are you going to be working or are you just going to?
Probably working.
Yeah.
I agree with Luca. I think that you should just try to remain positive and deal with it with it is what it is attitude. Just have to make the most of it.
So finally, would you, anybody over 18, would you encourage them to go out and vote on July the 4th?
If they believe that they know enough about who they're voting for and they think it will make a genuine change, then yes. But if they're just doing it because they feel forced, then I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, I'm going to leave it on that. I'll just say how impressed. This has been a fantastic session. Really impressed, and I just thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.